In this episode, we'll be doing a clockwise loop from Port Augusta out to Sojourner, up the Googs Track, and then back down the Sturt Highway. So there's some impressive artwork around Kimber, some beautiful installations, and unusually for South Australia, it's not full of green Cooper's signs. This has actually got some green VB signs, and not everybody comes here to see that. Most people come here to look at the silo art. So you can see that over here. I'm not really a silo art trail sort of dude, but I do like this one because it's the first time I've really ever gone anywhere and said, well, there's only a couple of things to do in this town, so I may as well do them. And this is one of them. This is over a decade old now. It's one of the original ones, and it's quite beautiful if you into this stuff. Look good from a drone. What you can see rising up in front of me here near Yellabinna on the Eyre Peninsula is Mt Finke. Uluru is Australia's largest and obviously most famous monolith. This one here is our second largest monolith. It only rises 261 metres above sea level. I'm at the base here and I don't actually know how far above sea level I currently am, although I did download an app for that. This can still be climbed.
Thanks to the local,
so we're giving it a crack.
My pronunciation.
1.2 k's up and back around the loop. View from the top's going to be beautiful. Something else that's interesting here is if you have a look down here, there's all granite. There's granite shelf the whole way along the edge of the rock, which directs it down this gully here into one of the local farmers' dams, perhaps before it was such a tourist site. There's no marked trail, no white chain going up this one, and no fine of $2,500 to get to the top. Whew. Bit of a health and fitness report here. Making my way up the slope. It's a nice way to show the angle compared to the horizon. I'll just talk slowly in case your volume's not so good. Nothing to do with being out of breath, but it gives you a good perspective on the climb coming up here. It is granite, unlike Uluru, or Ayers Rock, as it used to be called, which I assume was also named after Ayre, the guy who discovered the way across Australia. There's some cool little caves, bit of information about them, these tafonies. This rock is granite. Uluru is a big sedimentary conglomerate. So the view to the west here is pretty cool. The car park's just down there in front of that shelter. Toilet block down there. I drove in along this road through here. You can see another feature over here which is connected to this underground. This one's called Turtle Rock, evidently because of its shape, which isn't so evident from here. You can also see that water catchment feature I spotted down the bottom there, continuing right around here to lap right around the rock. And as I drove in on that road over there, you could see this slightly sloped wall coming all the way along. There's also one in the paddock there, a little bit different, just a soil one to capture the water there. I know you can have television and smell-o-vision, but we really need buzzer-vision, because my goodness, there's some flies out here. 31 degrees here at the moment. Look, it's an easy walk up to the top. It's really not far at all, so it'd be less than 400 meters in a straight line from the car park to the trig point at the top, which is just where we are up here. Some of these water garners out here, and the view to the east and the south and the north all look similar. Did you come the short way? Hey? Did you come the short way?
The missus has gone.
Heading down from the top now, and old mate's wife was there. She'd gone the wrong way, so he was just looking for her, and he's up the top calling to her. It's not too hard to find your way down. Oh, the granite just cracked under the feet. A few signs around. I've got these melaleucas up here. You can see signs all the way down. So it's not a hard route to follow. As well as those numbers we saw up the top, which are the depressions that hold water, because these features down here called rillen as well. So they're on a bit of a flat shelf. Water must come off the rocks and stuff up here, and it channels its way down through the rock. Now, this part of the country doesn't receive much rainfall. It's not quite arid, but it can be fairly erratic. But for the amount of water that would fall on a rock like this, Australia's second largest monolith, it helps you understand the amount of time involved in forming rillen like that. This is a cool little cave. Wow, it's pretty neat. Another one over the back there. Kids could have fun having a bit of hide and seek out here. You can see, like I said, the trail is pretty well marked. I think it's important when you're travelling. I've done just on 3 hours in the car to get here today. About half on tar, half on dirt, because I picked a bit more of an extreme route to make this adventure a little bit more fun for myself. I think it's important to do a bit of exercise, do a bit of a walk, stretch the legs, get the quads going, as well as getting to see the country. It can become quite sedentary, sitting in your four-wheel drive, buzzing around, setting up camp, getting your camp chair out, cracking a beer. Look, I don't know if it's tents before tinnies or tinnies before tents. Probably depends on the mood you're in. But either way, doing a bit of walk, a few stretches, a bit of exercise. Even the empty bicep curls, flicking the flies away, is all useful exercise. A few more of these outstanding, yet to be eroded rocks up here. There we go, just back in the car after the walk. Just checked on the altimeter. 207 down here, 261 at the top. So it's not much of a climb at all, and doesn't look like it. But it's nice to think you climbed to 261 metres, even though you really only climbed about just under a quarter of it. All right, on the road to the next stop. Alright, here we are at the start of the Googs Track. Just shut the gate behind us, swing around, and we're in. Tyres are down, don't know what PSI, just let about a count of 100 seconds out of each of them. This track's going to push 120 k's north from here, 363 sand dunes. I think I've already done one. Alright, so this is us rolling along the Googs Track. Fairly flat bit down in the low bit here. Tune coming up ahead. There's been a lot of trees, considering it's a mini Simpson. There's a lot more trees here and shrubs, but a lot of tall trees, but still, 6 metre eucalypts and mallee gums and stuff. Over this one, normally a real soft sandy bit right at the top that you drop out of. Fair bit of corrugation around the place. I'm interested to check the tyres tonight to see what pounds per square inch they're running. Out here at Googs Lake, looks like I've nabbed a pretty decent spot. Wasn't sure coming out, Easter weekend and all, how it was going to be. Let's pull it up here, car running, check power and the fridge and the rest of it. And then we're right down here onto the edge of the lake. Bit of bushland between us and there. But it's, yeah, pretty amazing place. Hey there again, it's morning. I just took a 250 metre constitutional down to do some Scotty Pape style fecal investing. It's a good long drop down there, and I'll tell you what, the feel of the sand beneath the feet this morning is good. Quite admire people who are organised enough to bring coffee making equipment. I don't have that, so I'm going to get a couple of breakfast this morning, breakfast of champions, 2 up and goes mixed with 2 caramel lattes in last night's Pepsi bottle and a banana. Breakfast of champions. Look at that, eh? If that's not appetizing, I don't know what is. Let's shake it up. Well, yep, I've got to tell you, it's sweet and salty and bitter and good all at once. I don't understand these people. I don't need breakfast. I don't need breakfast. If you have breakfast like this, you would not say no. All right, morning 2, leaving Googs Lake. Just coming through a few campgrounds to the north of the main, don't even know the name, Calasta campground. Although it looks tempting to drive out there on the lake to the right, it is not allowed. And if there's any moisture in it, you're probably going to get bogged. And there's no point bringing a surf ski or even a sea-doo out here. There's nowhere to rinse it with fresh water after you've used it. So yeah, maybe don't do that. Alright, we should get some bigger sand dunes today. A little bit deeper red colour soil, some bigger dunes. Apparently they get a bit chopped up through this part. I did check those tyre pressures, by the way. The 100-second guess yesterday put one at 21.5, one at 20.5, one at 20, and the rear right at 18.5. So I've decided to just leave them all at, as they were, because it felt like I was getting a fairly decent ride out of them yesterday. So the road keeps tracking to the north through these campgrounds, and there are a million places to camp along here. It goes for maybe about at least 10 kilometres that I've been doing so far. It's not a bad little run if you're into tricky, intricate sort of driving. If you like plucking your way through tree branches, and you're not too worried about scratching your vinyl and your stripes, and your panels and your paintwork, and you've got a skinny like Suzuki Jimny, then this is great. If you're in a Hummer or something wider, this might not be the place for you, unless you've got little or no regard for your panels. All in all, probably wouldn't recommend going and looking at the campgrounds further north unless you're interested in spotting out a camp for future. There's just a lot of this, a lot of threading a needle to get the car through. Windows down is probably the preferred method for looking after your vehicle, only because when your windows are down and you hit a stick and it comes flying in and lands on your lap, it's a really good sign to say, well, take it easy, brother, slow down. Whereas if your windows are up and your air conditioner was on and you had the music going, it would be a different story. You'd not know what was going on out there in the outside world, and you'd probably come home with a lot more lines on your car than otherwise. And turn left onto the east-west road running back to Googs Track. It's still pretty tight and thin. That's where I am now. It's like nice mallee scrub and all the rest around here, but you've just got to have your wits about you. If you've got wind resistance mirrors like these, tuck them in sideways. They're actually a pretty handy buffer, because you know if you're hitting them, then you're very close to hitting your panels. The brush rails on the front are also good, because with the windows down you can hear when they get hit, and you know to just readjust a little bit, particularly when you're going slow. And the other handy thing about them is they act as a width measurement for you. Oh yeah, I've got this on one of those like bolt-on mounts. I definitely recommend welding a mount on. It's something I'll be doing after this, because this thing just hits branches up high and it really flexes back, and that mount's bent a few times. I've jumped out and bent it back straight again. I've only got 2 of the 3 meters in, because it just means it hits that fewer branches as we go through. So they're only hand tightened because they're circular. It's hard to get, well, you could get vice grips on, I suppose. So you just have to keep an eye on that gap opening, and also down the bottom there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolt connectors. Just backed up here and getting out. I should point out on my vehicle, I've got 2 meter sound flag off the bull bar at the front, so it's probably 3 meters all up. A little bit higher than that down the back is RFDS high frequency radio. Just got a funny feeling when I came under this tree branch here. It sounded different to all the others, so I thought I'd just back up. And yeah, there's a reason it's high vis. It's so you can find it when it falls off. Oh, I'll have to get some new cable ties out. So a little tour of the campgrounds, if you choose to do that, takes about an hour extra. Put that onto your notifications. Back to the flag as well, I'd recommend, unless you've got a light bar in the middle like I've got on this one. Oh, here we go, bend and flex. Unless you've got a light bar like I've got on this one, it's probably worth mounting the flag in the middle if you're using one of these temporary brackets. Again, I'd recommend that you don't use them. Alright, so 4 k's from the memorials, 8 k's down to the main camp at the lake. Heading to the north now, we leave Yumburra Conservation Area, but it's still designated as part of Googs Track. And yeah, north of Googs Lake, the track certainly changes and becomes a lot harder work. A lot of slow, wriggly, wombatting to get through it. Where you just got to take it easy. I'm not going to make it there. Go on, boy. Now out. issue with having the windows down is sometimes it can get a little bit dusty on the vehicle. It's also just hit 27 degrees out there this morning, so it's probably time to cut the air conditioner on and put the windows up. The Googs Track itself, the vegetation will only be 100 mils wider than earlier around the campsites, but it makes such a difference in terms of fitting through. So I'm a little bit nervous about going into low range here. So what I might do is just try putting the lockers on and give this another go. Standard center diff lock on, and my two ARB electric lockers are on. This is around about where I struggled last time. I can see where I got dug in right here, and this time we are just walking straight up it with much more ease. So those lockers I don't use much, but they're handy when you need them. I'm reluctant to go to low range if I don't need to today, because like I said, last time I went into low range, I couldn't get out. I think there's a solenoid on the back of the transfer case that some days is good and some days is bad. Often when I put the car on, the center diff lock can't be engaged, which is fine when I'm using it as my daily drive. Oh, better put this mirror back in. They're at $800 a pair. They're a fairly expensive sacrificial mirror. Alright, I'm going to plant the camera up ahead. Got a fairly rocky bit of road. Rocky. It's not a road, it's not rocky. We've got an undulating wombatty sand track here on this section. So I'm just going to plant the camera up here and get a bit of a footage as we come by. Every 10 kilometres along the Googs Track is one of these signs. This will be 90 k's forwards northbound for us, 70 k's southbound for us. When you get to each of these, it's important to do a radio call up. Single vehicle, northbound at the 90 kilometre, 60 kilometre mark. And when you do those call ups, it's a good idea to make sure you're at the top of a dune as you do them. Often those signs are down in the swales. But if you're at the top of a dune when you do it, you can normally make sure you're going to pierce at least 10 kilometres further forwards. There's, I've heard one from about 30 kilometres away, so they do go quite well. You'll also get a good feel of convoys in front or behind of you because you'll regularly hear them call. I think with the quality of some people's UHFs, if they're not on a 5 watt or a 1 wide into their 12 volt system, and they're maybe not even going to reach a kilometre or two, and if they're calling at low points on the track, even less fast. So just be aware that you might still see people coming the other direction. I've seen 3 this morning, which is rare. Typically you're advised not to come southbound, but they looked like they were pretty adventurous and well set up, so they must have had a reason, I suppose. Just keep on bouncing along. I haven't done a count on the sand dunes. It'd be interesting to know how many to go at some point. I know in the middle of the Simpson, nearly 10 years ago, somebody put a McDonald's sign out there, which I think ended up at the William Creek Hotel after the Irrational Perks and Wildlife Circus went and removed it. And it was bang on almost the middle dune of the 1500 or so through the Simpson. That was pretty cool. I think I was one of the few people who went through there in the few weeks that it was actually erected out there. I just heard a couple of people on the radio been trying to call me out just in here. It's quite warm. It's 34 degrees out at the very end of March, 30th of March today, 2024. The March flies are certainly on tune with the calendar. This is probably one of the last warm spells, I think. Last night we had a lot of wind and It died down at some point during the night. We're just a few days after the full moon. It was a beautiful night after all. But it's warmed back up now to 34 now. It's just 1 o'clock. It stayed 34 degrees even with the breeze until 6 o'clock last night. So it could be warm out here again tonight. Don't know if you saw back there, one of those delicate petals I just passed had a ice cold washer on the back of her neck, which is a great idea. You just chuck them in your fridge for 5 or 10 minutes, pull them out, put them on your neck, keep changing them over. Really handy if someone in your group was suffering a bit of a heat stroke. I've got Mt Finke in front of me this afternoon, so I better make sure I keep the water up. As Russell says, you have 2 litres per man per day per haps per degree over 25 degrees in the summer months, dividing by 2 in the winter months. There's a bit of water dripped on the track too. Someone's obviously come along. It's been going for like tens of kilometres, and it's a pretty solid drip. Like there's a drip it's like the old ticker tape experiment from high school, if any of you are older enough to have done that before technology existed to do these things for us. You can sort of see by how frequent the water drops are. But yeah, they're down to about every 8 or 10 centimetres. That's 80 or 100 mils in the old scale, depending on how old you are. Because it's nudging on 35 to 36 degrees at the moment, which is pretty hot. But the track takes a sharp turn here from the north to the west. And the old track would have gone through here. It's only been disused for a little while, I would dare say. I'll show you on the head why. I'd predict this has only been here a few weeks or months at best. A clear, blatant disregard for weather conditions. It's a fire danger season from November to middle of April, and this guy's clearly had a fire, which isn't very good for him, not very good advertisement for Toyota. Not worth salvaging anything off it. Hopefully everybody got out and we're safe and well. It looks like it's a bit of a disaster, and I'd say it's probably still going through the process of insurance. You can still see all these wall slides, bridges, etc. in there. But yeah, lost his full setup. I was with one mate once upon a time, and we were driving along, and his engine caught fire. He had an extinguisher. It was in an old WB ute, and we were able to put that out. Another time I hit a roo, and the engine was running pretty hot at the time, and it lit up. The oil came out of the engine, and because of the heat, it lit up straight away. Now, the bird next to me at the time was able to grab her pillow, run around and whack at it like a Hessian sack to put the fire out. Otherwise, I would have been leaving that car on the side of the road. This one has too. Anyway, mate, I'm Land Cruiser, rest in peace. Hope insurance came to the party and you guys all got out of here alright. Interestingly, that Land Cruiser was burnt out almost on the last significant sand dune before you get to the turn off here, about a kilometre later to Mt Finke, obviously named after the same person of the Finke River fame, just out of Alice. Phone's downward. So halfway up Mt Finke, this is looking to the east. Pretty continuous uniform landscape from up here, all flat other than that sandy, salty lake out there. Past the north, right around to the west there. Probably similar to view to what's at the top. Thought I might just point out though here, I parked down in this car park here, which comes straight out of the campsite over this direction. There's more camping back there in amongst those trees. It's the main campsite. But from up here, I also noticed another campsite across this way. And from it, there's a road that then continues around to this little parking zone too. Don't know if that walking trail goes up the main mountain. The mountain I'm ascending is the false peak. These rocks underfoot that make up Mt Finke seem to be a really silica rich volcanic rock, quite fine grained. Some of the bigger sections are actually quite slippery in part. If you were to step up that with a bit of dust on your feet, it's quite a glass-like sound that they make. They're sort of chinking together as you step through them. Looks like we're just about to crest the top of this little knoll. Many people have added a few rocks onto this cairn here. Not sure why, because it's still a good 10 metres to the top here where this cairn's been created. Even though I'd argue it's a little bit higher to that one over there. Now that's a real peak over there. This one here is 363 metres in altitude. The walk only takes about 15 minutes to get up. I did say it might be igneous, but perhaps quite a fine-grained sedimentary rock, because as I look across into this mountain here, we can see pretty clearly all those bedding planes that have been uplifted. So well worth the walk up here when you come though, and nutrition and daily exercise in one. It's interesting, only one type of tree species appears to be on this hill. These awfully old weathered trees. Goodness knows how old they are. They're barely as tall as me. They're hanging on for life though. A couple of these big South Australian eucalyptus seed pods, gum nuts. I grew up on the east coast, and gum nuts are, you know, small, size of your fingernail. I've been surprised as I've travelled around. The further west you come, they're bigger and bigger, to the point where some of these gum nuts are the size of your fist. Pretty remarkable. These guys just hanging on for grim life out here. Alright, so that's northern false peak of Mt Finke. It's 183 metres here at the makeshift car park down here, and it's 336 metres at the top, so it's about a 150 metre climb up there. In a straight line, it's probably only 600 metres. You end up zigzagging a fair bit on the rocks up there, as you probably noticed. But you probably noticed, like a happy baby, you've been getting a bit more boob in this shot. It's because in the pocket here, I found a texture up there too. That's pretty good. I've got the old emergency GPS device, so it's enacted. It costs a little bit of money, but it's a nice peace of mind. I also try and drop every 3 times a day back to the family, just to let them know where I am. It's a good idea just as a stay safe, and there's other elevated buttons you can push on it to call upon emergency services. Look, it is well worth the drive into Mt Finke. Definitely worth a look. Single vehicle, northbound on Googs Track from Mt Finke turn off. Another thing that I'd probably say definitely worthwhile about Mt Finke. It's nice to have a goal or a destination at the end, although there's some more salt lakes to come. Single northbound vehicle, 40 kilometres, 120 kilometres. I'd also corrugation. Looks like we're pretty much out of sand dune country now. Has been that way for the last few Ks. Seems to flatten out, get a bit more rocky in amongst it. Bit bumpier here too. Still some skinny little bits you need to jump on the anchors for. Here's the old king chrome pen that somebody left up there for me, so that's it's still working. Still working just fine. Incredible. Here's some fun facts, and just a little bit more for you here as I'm plodding along this little section here. A little bit more here on timeline. So 15 minutes to get up Mt Finke, probably 25 to come back down. Took my time a little bit more coming down. Big gulp of water up there when I got back to the car. You know, you might have noticed I wasn't carrying a water bottle, because why? I've got a stomach that effectively acts as a bag that carries water, so I fill it up before I go, and then sometimes it gets a little bit empty when I'm out there doing a little walk, so I'll fill it back up when I get back to the car, hands free the whole way. Yeah, so the track was about 3.5 hours to get from Googs Lake to Mt Finke, drive time, plus your stops, depending on what sort of driver you are, I suppose. To put that in comparison, it was 2.5 hours from Ceduna into Googs Lake campground last night. Oh, creek crossing. I've not seen one of these in 150 kilometres or so. Looks like we might have a few more to come here. More accurately, I should say creek bed crossing, not creek crossing. So, interestingly, it's worth pointing out that the northern part of the track beyond the salt pan area gets quite skinny again in part, and also a little bit challenging as far as four-wheel driving goes. So be prepared to keep yourself focused as you come through the afternoon section. Wombat holes all along. Every now and then, and I'm talking like maybe 5 times over the whole of the Googs Track, there's an alternate chicken route up the side. There's only one reason why you need to take them, but you know, that's choice and discretion and whatever else. If you had a trailer, you'd probably go for them, because this would be a bit hard on the vehicle sometimes. But if you're engaged in full drive, you should normally be alright. Especially if you've got your diff locks and that. Bit of white knuckle fever here. But the vehicle seems to always get up. Like, there seems to be no worry about getting up. It's just a matter of slow and steady and making sure your mechanics and electronics are doing what they need to do. It's good fun. Now once you're off the Googs Track, the last 20 k's is through Yellabinna Station. You can speed it up a little bit through there, but it's still pretty rocky. Leave your tyre pressures down. Then you come across the Transcontinental Railway line and onto this road, which runs parallel to it, heading back to the east at this point. I've left my tyre pressures down. 20 is probably a bit too low, but it's a nice, comfortable, soft ride. Just saw a couple of old blokes and they were pumping their tyres back up as they were turning onto this road. And given how sandy and corrugated it is, it's probably not a bad idea to leave them down for a bit of comfort. Heading to Tarcoola tonight. Should be there within half an hour. There's a massive big mine site here. Now I don't know what they've been mining. There's no remnants left, there's no infrastructure, there's no anything else. It'd make a pretty good concert pit. You could see the Midnight Oils filming a clip out here back in the day. And over that direction is Tarcoola, and just to the north is another active mine site where we can see a fair bit of mullock piled up out there. I'm done for the travelling for today. It's been nice, really good. Recommend the Googs Track to anyone. Lots to see out there. I probably haven't quite got enough of the wildlife fix that I normally like to get. A few birds here and there, but that's it. No reptiles, maybe that's a good thing. Anyhow, you can even see from here, I'm just going to swing you right back around Mt Finke, which was the last stop this afternoon. It was about 2 hours ago. So this will be camp. I'm near Tarcoola. There's the railway line along there, so if a passenger train or goods train comes through during the night, I'll probably hear about it, because I'm only camping a little bit away from that. Came across this old abandoned mine site. Sort of got my interest. Came in for a bit of an explore. I could turn it into a 4-drive park, really. Absolute another ripping sunset. Beautiful. Woo! That's a beautiful time of day. Well, good morning, I'm up early. It's hard to judge those distances at very early dawn. Anyway, I've shot a little bit further along here, found this magnificent salt lake out here. Sun's coming up in the background, so we might get a good rise there shortly. I saw another train just coming along the ridge here on the other side as well. That makes 3 trains in an hour since the first one woke me up, which is a lot more than I probably kind of expected that would be getting out here on the railway, but looks like it is pretty busy, or busy for this time of day. Beautiful salt lake, crusty and dry. Beautiful patterns in it too. It's dried out. Might watch this sunrise. Yes, absolutely beautiful little sunrise. Only trouble is, as the sun rises, so do the flies. So going to jump back in the car and keep on rolling. It's been really peaceful here for about half an hour while I had some brekkie in the old Pepsi bottle again. In the tracks. Really cool here. Emu footprints, which is pretty neat. Haven't seen any big birds. Couple of roos though. Morning sunshine. Disappearing caterpillar. So heading east, coming in towards Landambo, about 10 k's from Landambo at the moment. Trying to avoid the morning sun, which is quite beautiful, really nice. Only got down to 18 overnight, so 8:30 in the morning. Going to jump back up to probably 35 today. It's already 25. And this is our last week of daylight savings time, so it's still dark at like 20 past 7 when I was getting some shots of that salt lake earlier before. View out the front. Bright and sunny and plain. It's interesting as I've come along this hour and a half this morning from Tarcoola to Yellabinna, it just gets less trees and flatter. More sheep country, a few goats. They're laying a cable down through here. 2 big trenching apparatus. Find out what this cable's for. Yeah, well there you go, eh? Still still laying the internet around Australia. Old mate looks at his watch and he says, yeah, should be right in 3 to 7 years. Alright, well, we're back to the Sturt Highway between Adelaide and Alice, which is pretty cool. Coober Pedy up to the north. Tempting, if I stretch it for one more day. It's only 250 k's. I'd be there in no time with the speed limits out here. That'll just about do for the trip, guys. Thanks for coming along. I hope my video's decent. It's my first crack at it. Maybe if I do a few more of these, I'll look forward to looking back on this one thinking, oh gee, that was rough, I was so amateur. But we'll wait and see in time. Oh, here we go. Here's some of the wildlife up here at Glendambo. Off you go, boys. That's a boy. Hot step it. Hot step it. Interesting breed. They've all got black heads. When I say all, I mean some. Wow, that's where the internet starts, just there in that hole. Yep, Glendambo looks just like it used to. I was going to fill up and get some fuel stats there, but no, I don't need to. 385 k's from Ceduna to Glendambo, so anybody can do it on a regular tank. No worries at all with that. We're 285 from Port Augusta, and pretty plain sailing back here down to Adelaide. Oh, like and subscribe, doesn't cost you anything, helps me out.